Everyone, myself Rohan Singh and welcome back to my channel. So previously we covered what are data types, means we started with the data types and we saw there are two types of data types, that is primitives and non-primitives. So we said that we don't have to worry about non-primitives now. We started with the primitives. So I said there are total 8 primitives. So we as I said that there are total 8 primitives and they are byte, short, int, long, float, double, char and boolean. So I just classified the primitives into 4 sections, right? One was integer, then floating point, then character, okay, yes, then character, and then boolean. So yes, in a previous video we discussed what are integers, right? So in integer we said there are byte, short, int and long, and we covered all the 4 of them, right? And we said telling L is only necessary if the range is outside the int range, right? So we discussed the starting 4, right? So in this video we'll be dealing with the floating point. Okay, so floating point, I have divided the floating point into 2 parts. Okay, so they are, first one is float and the second one is double. Okay, so previously we covered this 4, right? But and now in this video we'll be covering these 2. Okay, so clear? Yes, so let's move further, but before that we'll just see what we have covered in our previous video. So we said that integers are nothing but just a whole or a fixed number, means they are very precise, no decimals and nothing, right? And they were byte, short, int and long, and the difference were the size, right? Yes, and the default value of integers was 0, right? And we also said that we can use hexadecimal, octal, binary and character as well, right? Yes, and if we use character, what is the output? It gives the ASCII value, right? Yes, so clear till now? Yes, so in this section we'll be dealing with what are floating points. Okay, so floating points are real number. Okay, so what do I mean by real number? For example, 3.14 means floating point, means we are having decimals in the number. For example, 1.2 or any like 2.3. So floating point number can store the decimals as well, right? But they can also store the simple value, for example 2, 4, 6, but in the background, or I can say in the memory, this 2 will be allocated as 2.0, 4 will be 4.0, 6 will be 6.0. okay, so whenever we have any decimals and we want to store them in a variable, we declare them in the floating points. Okay, and the floating point are divided into float or double. Okay, yes, so now the difference between float and double is the same, that means there is the difference in size. So float is 32 bits and double is 64 bits. Okay, but in the integer 32 bit was minus 2 power 31 to positive 2 power 31 minus 1, right? But over here, as we have got decimals as well, like 1.12, means we have got decimals, right? So due to this, the size has changed, minus 3.4 E38. Okay, so E means 10 power, right? So this range is very big, right? And the double range is for 64 bits, that is 8 byte, and in the integer 64 bits was minus 2 power 63 to positive 2 power 63 minus 1, right? But over here again there is a difference in the size. Okay, so these ranges are very much greater than the integers, right? Yes, and the default value for float is 0.0f and 0.0d. okay, now we'll see this stuff into action. Yes, so we'll just create one class and we'll just name them as data type. Okay, and I'll just include the public static void main. That is our main method, right? Yes. So over here in this data type class, what we'll do, previously we said that we declare a variable of integer like this, right? Yes. And now we can declare a variable of floating point. So the floating point consists of float and double, right? So we need to use the keyword to declare the float or double. So for example, for declaring a float, we say float and we give the variable name. This we already discussed in the variable declaration, right? We give the type, then the name, then the value, right? So first we give the type is of float, right? And we give the name as f, okay, and I'll give the value as, let's say, 5. Okay, now see, now if I say system.out.println, okay, so and I want to print the f, so over now I don't have give, means I didn't have give the decimal point over here. Now if I want to run my program, I'll say right click, run as Java application, right? Yes. So inside the console, what value we have got? 5.0. That's what I said, that if the value, even the value we are giving it as 2 or 6, it will be in the memory, it will be 6.0, 2.0 respectively, right? Yes. So that's what we got over here, right? Yes, means we gave the value as 5 and we printed, so the value got to be 5.0. okay, so we'll just comment this line because we are dealing with the float. Okay, and you know what are comments, right? We discussed already in our previous videos what are comments. Okay, so now what if I want to give 5.65, okay, float f2, okay, and 5.25, okay, still yes, now it's giving us an error. Over here we didn't got any errors, right? It was working fine, but over here it says, let's see what does it say, type mismatch, cannot convert from double to float. Okay, so now see what happens whenever you give any value, for example 1, so this one will be evaluated as int. Okay, means just a fixed number will always get in evaluated as int. Okay, and it will be more clear when we move to the operands. Okay, don't worry for now, but for now I am just clearing you the doubts. Okay, means just a stuff that you need to know for now. Okay, so this 5.2 is for now it is being evaluated to 5.25, but it is of the type double. Okay, in the background, means any number with the decimal, it gets evaluated as double. Okay, so for letting the compiler, or we can say the JVM, know that this is a type of float, we need to say telling f. Okay, so we need to give telling f, and we can also use the capital letter F. Okay, it's up to us. Okay, but it is mandatory whenever we give any decimal points in the floating variable. For example, see, in our first example I said float f is equals to 5, right? So over here the 5 was not having any decimals, right? Yeah, so there was no need to give telling f or f, right? But now if I say float f2 is equals to 5.25, okay, so as I said, if there is any decimal inside the variable declaration, you need to end it with the telling f or this capital letter F for float, right? So that this f says the compiler that this is a type of floating point number, means of float. Okay, yes. So now what we'll do, now I just gave the f, right? Now if I want to print the value of f2, it will say yes, so the value will be 5.25. it's correct, right? And I can also use the telling f, it's up to us. Okay, So clear everyone? Yes. So now we have covered that when to use the tailing f, right? Yes. Now let's move to the double. Okay. So we saw what is floating point, right? This one. Now it's time to move to the double. Okay, so what does the word double means? As I said, both float and double are floating point number, means they can have the decimals, right? Like 2.65, yes, something like that, right? Sorry, 5.6b, this is the decimal number, right? So this is a floating point number. So to store this number you need to use float or double. So you can use either one of them, right? So if I say double d is equals to 5.246, okay, now it doesn't give us any error. Okay, so now if I say sys out d, see, we got the correct output. And you may also encounter one question, that is tailing d or d is necessary for double variables? The answer is no. We can have tailing d or means tailing d or capital letter D. It's up to us. Okay. So if we want to give, we can give this, but it's not necessary. Okay. Yes. See, it is not necessary. You can also give this. You can also say like this. Sorry, this, and you can all now, even now it will work fine. And if you don't give the letter D, then also it's okay, it works fine. Okay, but tailing f is necessary for float if you are giving any floating point number, for example any decimal numbers, right? So if you are trying to give any decimal number to float, you need to give the tailing f. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Okay, now the question is which one to use, right? Float or double, right? So see, like this is some means experts always believe in, like this is always stick, always just hold on. Yes, so they say always stick to double and int. Okay, so what does this point means? Okay, means they say whenever you are using means whenever you want to declare any fixed number, for example 1, 2000 or something like that. Okay, so this is a fixed number, right? So for this you use int. Okay, so expert says always stick to int if you are using the fixed number. Okay, and if you are using any decimal, for example 56.245 or 3.14, so for at this time you always use the double. Okay, because double is more precise than float, because the range of double is greater than float, right? Because the float range is -3, means C, we'll see this. Yes, so the float range is -3.4 E38 and the double range is -1.7 E308. Okay, so the range for float double is more, right? So the preciseness is again the more. For example, I am having a greater number like 6.400000056. Okay, so at this time float doesn't get evaluated much precisely. Okay, we'll just see this example, then it will be more clear. Okay, so for example I am saying, okay, so this is a number and I just want to print this. Okay, see what value do we get? 5.25. okay, it's good till now. Then 00, okay, then 5, then 4, and then again 4. Okay, so over here it just rounds that, right? So see, we are not getting the precise value, and if I use the same over here, okay, if I just use the same value over here, and now let's see what the double gives us. See, double is giving us the exact means exact value, right? What we wanted. Okay, so that's the reason why double is more precise than the float. Okay, so clear for now that what to use, means whenever you need the preciseness, and even though if you don't need the preciseness, expert says that stick with double, and if the values are fixed then stick with int. Okay, so they also say that use byte, short and float only if memory saving is needed. Okay, means only for saving the memory. So if you want to save memory, use byte, short or float. Okay, but the thing that are recommended are double and int. Now the question is why I haven't gave the long, right? We also covered long over here, right? So answer for that is int range is something like int range is not more. Okay, so for example, if you are saving any mobile number, okay, so for saving the mobile number, int is not sufficient to hold that 10 digits. Okay, or you can say more than 10 digits. Okay, so int is not compatible with that, so at that time you can use long. Okay, so only use long when you know that the range will be outside the int range. Okay, so for example, if you are having a multiple number like 400 4504, something like this. Okay, so this is a big number, so this won't get occupied inside this int. Okay, because this number is outside the int range, right? So at this time you can use long. Okay, but as I said, always stick with double and int. Okay, and one more thing, the means floating point number are less faster than, or we can say slower than integers. Okay, so what are integers? Again, integers are byte, short, int and long, right? So integers are these four. So float and double, okay, are slower than these four. Okay, so now the question is why they are slower than that, right? See what happens, the integers are the fixed number, right? For example 6 2 5, and they are means they say fixed number, but when it comes to the floating point there are decimals. Okay, so there it takes time to evaluate the decimals values. Okay, so that's the reason why floating point number are slower as compared to integers. Okay, so clear to everyone? Any doubts? Yes, so in this video we covered what are floating point numbers. Okay, so if you have any doubts you can just reach out to me on my Gmail, or you can just comment your doubts in the comment section and I'll means solve your issues. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and if you like the video do like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.